for the one and only Miss Alison Brie, guys. This is the kind of film that is easy to do a Q&A for, because it begs a few questions.
What do you mean?
What is the pitch for this? Is it Eat, Pray, Love meets Eyes Wide Shut? Like, what do you say?
I think we said more, Under the Tuscan Sun turns into Taken. But you're on the right track,
okay,
yeah.
I was in the ballpark.
Yeah.
This is your third collaboration with Jeff Baena.
It's the fourth movie because I actually had a small role in Joshi.
Oh, I should know that, yeah.
Well, I was gonna say my role in detail, but it's a real spoiler for the movie. But if you check it out, I'm in the first 5 minutes.
But the last two, of course, Horse Girl and Little Hours.
Yes. Yes, go on.
Right, do I have that right?
Yeah, you do. I'm really ready. I'm like, no, that's correct, it's correct. I was like trying to guess what you were gonna say, and then you should just talk, and I should stop talking.
Interject when I get something wrong, which is inevitable.
Okay.
Little Hours was gonna say, if you want to see a film about 3 nuns trying to have sex with Dave Franco, you can do a lot worse than that one. But this film is a little bit different because this is scripted. And the last couple have been just outlines that you guys then use a lot of improv to create. Right. That was the initial intent, though, in this one. So how did this develop into what it became?
Yes, well, it was really because of COVID and just the amount of time that we ended up having on our hands. So Jeff had sort of conceived of the plot of this movie after we shot The Little Hours in Italy. And I think a big part of him just wanted to get back to Italy as soon as possible, and also felt like he knew his way around and had the resources and was comfortable with like a production team there and things like that. But I don't know, it didn't come together in time. And in the interim, I brought Horse Girl kind of to him and we developed that together. So then after Horse Girl, he had a 10-page outline for this and asked me if I wanted to work on it, and we fleshed it out to like a 35-page outline and brought it back to Duplass, who we had made, Duplass Brothers production company, who we had made Horse Girl with. All right. And,
You're in the right place, IFC Center.
Real Duplass head over here, yeah, everybody, I'm sure. Me too. And then with lockdown and quarantine, we just had a lot of time, and so we just decided to write the whole thing. And I think we also thought it would be easier to sell it because even though Horse Girl was a very strange idea too, but that was it's somehow, you know why? Because the Duplass brothers had an overall deal at Netflix, and I feel like we sort of just slipped in there at the time where we did like half a pitch, and Netflix was just like, that's like a penny to us, like the amount of money that they had at the time. It worked out. And then we tried to bring this to them and they were like, no, the doors are closed. And we were like, we'll write the whole script.
The funny thing is this film still has such a loose feel. Like I wouldn't have been surprised, and I mean this as a compliment, that it feels just very alive and very present. Talk to me about like the company of actors you have in this. Obviously, is amazing, and some of them you've worked with before.
Yes.
Some you haven't.
Yes.
What's the commonality? Like, you know what Molly Shannon can do, but like, do you know that Alessandro has that in him to work in this kind of a film?
You know, it was a mix of all sorts of things, because some people like Molly and Aubrey, we wrote the roles with them in mind and crossed our fingers that they would be available. And then other people were people that we knew, like Zach Woods, obviously very familiar with his work, and we both also knew him personally and just thought he would be a perfect fit for that role. And someone like Aiden Mayeri had just worked with my husband Dave on The After Party and sort of slotted her in there. And then Alessandra, that role, the Nick role, was actually really tough to cast, you know? It's a tricky part to pull off, and we went to Alessandro, and it was so great that we did, because he's such a thoughtful actor, you know, for somebody who's so handsome. He's really a character actor. And if you think about his roles, you know, like in David O. Russell's movies, he pops up a lot, really digs into character, and he did the same with this. And we actually ended up rewriting a lot of the Nick stuff because of questions he was asking and kind of information he was giving us on how he might play the character, and it really helped us to kind of round out that character.
It's fair to say you embrace the awkward, generally, and specifically in this film. And from what I gather, like, what I love in many respects in this film is just how long you let it play at times.
There were a lot of conversations about the Molly scene where she's borrowing my clothes.
So, is that a case where, like, it's the Molly Shannon, like, dispensation, like, as long and as far as she wants to go, let Molly do her thing?
A little bit of both. Honestly, even at a script level, that scene was really long, and our financiers kept telling us to cut it shorter, and we were just like, the point of, like, the funniness is from it being long. It's just not gonna play well. I mean, could we have shaved a little? I think, and then you get there, and Molly is so funny, and she just, it's like she has comedy in her DNA, and so most of that scene played out scripted, but also she was still adding beats that just fit in perfectly, that we just felt like we couldn't cut, like her asking to take the hangers. The hangers? Yeah.
The way you play in this is not the Alison Brie on stage with us today, but is she a past remnant of an Alison Brie that we could have known way back when?
A little bit. I mean, I don't think I've ever been quite as passive as Amber is as a person, but certainly there are shades of, some experiences that I've had with different men in my life, and it's more the essence of how those situations made me feel, even though I probably still was a little more vocal than Amber. But, a lot of the writing process with Jeff and I is about telling each other stories about our lives and stories about our friends' lives and other, things that we've heard about other people. We gossip a lot. And I think that specificity just adds a lot to those scenes without us having to then put like a commentary on the situation.
What is the environment on a Jeff Baena set then, just generally speaking? Because it seems like, the old cliche is like, sometimes it's not great to have like a fun set because it doesn't translate on screen. But my sense is you guys get your cake and eat it too. Like, you have a good time.
Definitely.
And it translates somehow.
Thank you. The funny thing about this cast, well, and maybe this also had to do with the COVID of it all, because we shot this last June in Italy, and travel was just opening back up. There were no Americans where we were in Tuscany, and we were sort of in a bubble, and nobody could bring friends or significant others or anything. And people had been in their houses for the last year and a half by the time we all saw each other. So actually, it was less, we had a lot of fun and everybody's so funny, but it was also more about like, tell me everything about your life. Like, how many siblings do you have? When did you lose your virginity? I just felt like immediately we were like a really codependent group who was having a blast and also having like very serious conversations between takes.
Well, and you also have the group scenes. It almost feels like therapy sessions.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yes, and Zach Woods' parents are both therapists, so he was often leading the therapy session, talking about, issues with my parents. It was a very cathartic experience for me.
Does Aubrey give tarot card readings to every cast member? How many times have your tarot cards been read by Aubrey Plaza?
Once individually, on this trip, and another time she did sort of like a group reading that we did like at 4 a.m. we like hiked up past the hotel into the mountains, but there was a weird Coliseum-y thing, and Alessandro was right about to arrive. He hadn't arrived yet. This was actually a cool part of the shoot because his character looms large over everybody in the movie, and it was kind of like that. Before he got there, it was like, Alessandro's coming. So then we did a tarot reading about like Alessandro, like how he's gonna affect our lives. And it blew our minds. And then we all sat there interpreting, like Aubrey's doing the reading, but we all had interpretations of the cards. And then we all thought we should go like knock on Alessandro's window at 4 a.m. and tell him. But we didn't do it. I was like, God, it doesn't feel.
Welcome to the party.
Exactly. We don't want to freak him out completely.
Who is responsible for this beauty right here?
I mean,
and how big a poster is in your home, and how much does it?
I have to give the credit to Jeff from the beginning. I mean, while we were doing the shoot, on our group text chain with the cast, he would send us like romance novel covers with different cast members' faces superimposed, and it was so funny. And so right after we finished the movie, he was like, "That's what we have to do for the poster." And we did separate sort of weird like photo shoots. And now I have a poster. My poster in my house is probably that big and stands up on its own. And yeah, I don't know when I'm gonna get rid of it. But Dave doesn't love it.
I mean, how much do you love you referenced this at the outset, that it is so unpredictable as a story. Like, you can watch the first 15 minutes and be like, I've seen a lot of movies, I know where this is going. And it's impossible to know where it's going.
I mean, this is one of the reasons that I love working with Jeff, because he always likes to do something new, he always likes to do something different. He doesn't subscribe to any kind of genre, he's really like, let's just follow the story and let it go to the weirdest places. And it's a really fun, creative outlet for me. I know that when I'm watching stuff, I like to be surprised. So I think, we're always channeling that.
And any film that ends with Fred Armisen in an orgy.
The dildo gun. How could you go wrong?
It's like Mad Libs. Like, you just throw it out and there it is.
I will say that in the original draft of the script, that scene was a little more graphic. If you could imagine. But we toned it down before sending it to the actors because we realized that maybe they'd be scared.
I mean, speaking of scary, I can't think of a more chilling image I've seen in recent years than just the pre-made Alfredo sauce. I didn't know that would be as creepy as it was.
Well, I didn't know that Alfredo sauce doesn't exist in Italy. They don't make Alfredo sauce. It's just an Americanized thing that we're like, this is an Italian sauce. So we just had to get creative. Like, that's definitely not Alfredo sauce. I don't know what that is.
Thanks for a lot of follow-up questions. Were you received well by the Italians for this shoot?
Definitely. Oh yeah, we had a wonderful Italian crew. Everybody was so fun and so game. And speaking of the end of the film, that group of background actors were pretty extraordinary in terms of their comfortability with their bodies. And truly, it was a godsend, because shooting a scene like that could be a little dicey. And we cast all those actors as we cast all couples to play the people in that final scene. So it's sort of like pair with your partner, do whatever you're comfortable with, and they were really comfortable.
You guys are chill. You guys are good. Yeah.
Play on.
We actually haven't turned the cameras on. You know that, guys, right? Are you plotting the next one in Bora Bora? Do you now just like go through the globe and just chart out where you want to go?
I wouldn't put it past Jeff to try to go back to Italy again. Like, he needs an Italian trilogy, But no, nothing yet. I feel like everything that we have done has come about very organically. So we're sort of just waiting for the inspiration.
Does this kind of, do these experiences, I mean, I'm sure they're set a bit apart from the actor, and this is the wrong way to put it, the actor for hire kind of situation. I mean, you obviously pour your heart and soul to everything, but do you kind of put this in its own, I don't know, its own filing cabinet, these kind of collaborations where you're a co-writer and you're working with Jeff and your friends?
Definitely, yeah, because it really is a different experience for me to be part of something from its inception to the final moments of the edit and all of that stuff. And it's great. It's such a different way to collaborate with everybody involved in the process, with all of the crew involved and the people behind the scenes, which is something that as an actor, it took me so long to even have the scope of what that meant. Like, obviously I've been on sets with amazing crews and I love those crews, but also it took me a long time to be like, what does a grip do? Or like, it's just different to really fully get to be behind the scenes and kind of go like, these actors come in for such a small part of the thing. It's really special and different and difficult, and I always feel really proud, you know, I get to have a little more maybe ownership over the final thing.
I mean, these are the cool kids, obviously, anybody that comes out to IFC Center
Yeah.
for this kind of a film. They're the smarter ones. How do they sell this to their friends and family? What do you suggest people say? This madness that you've created with your friends.
I mean, to me, it's about expect the unexpected, right? I would like to think that this is unlike most movies you've seen, and that's probably the best way to sell it. My parents like to ask me, is it weird? To which I say, yes.
I mean, if you consider Fred Armisen and dildos and whatever, I mean...
I'm never sure what my parents are looking for. I'm always like, I mean, I don't get naked in it, but there is a lot of sex.
I've seen the next film she wrote. Stay tuned. Thank you guys so much for coming out tonight. Spread the good word of Spin Me Around. Give it up.